7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Distinguished guests, welcome back. We are now ready to continue our discussion, specifically by focusing on technological competition and challenges. When we think about the most recent innovations in the military, well, the disruptive nature of drone technology and related warfare, or the advancements in traditional surface-based air defense systems, are just the top of the iceberg. There are also emerging threats and concepts in hypersonic, very high-altitude unmanned aerial systems and space capabilities. One of the most important features we are learning by these fast developments in modern battlefield is its increasing interconnected nature, where actions in one domain can have significant repercussions in others. This interconnection is particularly evident in the realm of air superiority. Ground and naval forces rely heavily on air support for reconnaissance, close air support, and air mobility. Likewise, air operations can only be conducted if all the ground-based info and infrastructures are protected. An interplay among all the domains is then critical for operational effectiveness and campaign execution. This interconnection requires enhanced cooperation not only among allied, partner, and like-minded nations to share intelligence, coordinate cyber defense, but also to jointly develop new technologies which will be critical for maintaining air superiority in a multi-domain environment. Here is where the potential of dual use emerges. By developing systems that are not only capable of defending high-value military assets in times of crisis and war, but are also effective in protecting civilian infrastructures and populations, nations can enhance their overall security posture. For instance, advanced anti-aircraft systems or drones can be deployed to safeguard sports events or other civilian targets from terrorist attacks. This dual-use approach ensures that the technology investments made for military purposes can also provide robust protection for civilian life and property, thereby offering a comprehensive security solution that addresses both military and civilian threats. As a natural consequence, the private sector and the industrial perspective become crucial. In this respect, today, we have the opportunity to listen to an inspiring story and challenge which links apparently distant worlds: fashion, sports competitions, and aerospace. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Lorenzo Bertelli, Chief Marketing Officer and Head of Corporate Social Responsibility of the Prada Group, responsible for both the group's marketing and communication strategy, as well as the group's overall approach to sustainability.
Thank you. Good afternoon to everybody. Actually, for me, it's a very different environment to what I'm used. I've never seen so many uniforms all together. And this is quite strange, I would say, but exciting, and I hope we will enjoy. So let me explain you a bit why I'm here and to talk about of this great opportunity. First of all, I want to thank Generale Goretti and the whole Italian Air Force for this opportunity. It's an honor for me and the Prada Group to be here with such a prestigious audience. Prada was born more than 100 years ago, and the first client of our founder, my grand-grandfather, were international customers traveling not just in space, but all around the world. Our passion for culture, innovation, and excellence has deep roots. We are the major Italian fashion group, but we are also one of the most important art foundation and engineering company with Luna Rossa, who counts more 100 engineers working on aero, hydrodynamic, mechatronics, digital twins, simulator, and composite materials. We've been given the chance to face a new challenge supporting action space. And we met also some key people of Aeronautica who have been able to start this journey. You will wonder, what fashion, art, and sailing and space have in common? Apparently nothing, and I couldn't agree more. And that it is precisely in the encounter of those distinct cultural spheres that inner identity of our groups come to life. I will begin starting to talk about our experience with Axiom. So please, if you could check. Thank you. Actually, the journey started during COVID. I think during COVID, a lot of companies and individuals have changed their strategic priority and vision. And actually, we're discussing, okay, we have invested so much in engineering capability and what we could do with all that know-how. And we start to think about that we have a huge know-how in composite material, and we will see later, but also on fabric and manufacturing fabrics and putting together great products. And so we decide why we don't look at different opportunity where we can explore a bit more our capability and know-how. And in that period came the opportunity. I met by chance, thanks to Aeronautica, Michael Suffredini, one of the founders of Axiom. And we started to have a discussion for fun on our capability and their capability, and we were trying to explain them why we could have helped them. In the beginning, there were so much skepticism on their side, and so we decided to make the first trip to Houston, and with our team, trying to explain them our capability, and also looking at what they were doing with the suit, with the stitches, with the pattern, and so on, trying to understand how we could have helped them. And I just very quickly want to tell you an anecdote that when we came there, for example, we went there, we showed them a lot of different pattern of stitching, you know, very simple things, or way of do patterning for the suit to improve mobility, agility, and also to save weight. And at the beginning, say, no, this has been tested, relied by ASA for decades. This is the way to go. We don't want to change it. And so we went back and we invited them to come in Italy to visit our factories and our team. And I remember when we came back to them, we started to see the prototype of the spacesuit our stitching, that the one that we proposed, and they said, oh, we don't need them. And so at the end, day by day, week by week, months over months, we started to know each other much better, and they realized our capability and what we could offer to them. And today, there are constant exchanges, and they come in Italy, and actually we're discussing having a group of them coming in Italy to learn how do patterning, how putting product together, stitching, and so on, because at the end, is a manufacture capability that they didn't have, even that they had plenty of machinery and technology to do all sorts of product, and we learn a lot from their way of working, something like simple, like handcraft and knowledge from people that do those kind of things for decades, and I would say even more, they didn't have in-house. And so we really helped them in this kind of journey. And we will see more later in the presentation. But all of this wouldn't have been possible thanks to Italian Air Force. And I would like to extend again my sincere thanks to the Italian Air Force, their attention and the interest in the project. And I want to repeat that without their help, it would have been impossible, because this, I think, is a great example of collaboration between public sector and private sector. And all of this also would have not been possible without two things: our America's Cup team and our industrial manufacturing plant. But let me start from the America's Cup team. America's Cup is the oldest sport trophy in history. And since the late 90s, we started this journey investing more than €1 billion in research and development and engineering. A lot of our structural engineering, one of the structural engineering of SpaceX has done 2 campaigns with us. We had structural engineers that participated to the Lockheed F-35 project, and they're working with us. But think about that, there is no other sector where composite material are put under stress like in the America's Cup. Somebody could say, yeah, F1. Yeah, F1 is about lightness and aerodynamics. But if you look at this boat, all the weight of this boat, all the force, and they're talking about tens of tons of force, are on one single foil arm in a dynamic environment, and it's all made of composite material. And we work with a safety factor that is less than 1. This is, is far away from what you are used in your sector, that you are around 4, 5, or even more than 6. And just to make also a few examples, we achieved those kind of objectives because we stopped it, let's say, to work towards a direction that there was the 1 or F1 and try to have more kind of approach that is safe, test and learn and failing and understanding what comes out from those experiments. And thanks to composite material, 3D modeling, and digital twin, we've been able, for example, to take out from our process for example, the vacuum chamber where a lot of the wings, for example, of Airbus, they are used to be put in vacuum chamber for having better safety factor and reliability. We stopped to do that process like since 20 years ago. Because we believe that was a non-needed cost and was a waste of time. And thanks to the AI new technology, we can simply model them. And we have built inside in-house our internal tool to model all the loads on the composite, but also in dynamics environment during the regatta, for example. So I want to show you a very quick video of a failure that we have during a regatta, because I think failure defines engineering somehow. And so, if they can play the video very quickly.
A really big.
Racing in race 8 of the Cup final remains deadlocked.
Luckily, it was just a cosmetic damage, so an aerodynamic damage. So we'll be able to repair it in 30 minutes and to win the following regatta. But a similar accident with much higher impact happened to the Kiwi team, the New Zealand team, that actually the boat fell from the lift and it almost broke enough. And in 5 days, they managed to put it apart again and to win at the end the America's Cup. So can you imagine the most catastrophic failure, like a hull that broke enough, being repaired in 5 days, thanks to a modeling capability that we believe only in the America's Cup you have, because in any other sector you have those kind of loads on composite in a dynamic environment, repair it, still be competitive with a marginal increase of weight and win the America's Cup. And somehow this reminds always to us that composite material is a bit like woods. Remember, like ship navies, like from the 18th and 17th century, they were made of wood, and they were quite common to have reparation while they were sailing and after battle or whatever was the needs, and keep going on and keep going on. And at the end, this kind of capability, thanks for the technology of today, are essential to achieve our objective. But this will not be possible without the help of boat builder. Today, in the America's Cup, boat builder is the #1 scarce resource that we have. Because at the end is people that for decades that improve their skills on the most technological material and how to apply those ladder of carbon on surface. And is a big scarcity. And so again, there was this this example presented before also from the Generale Goretti, that today, yes, technology is super important, industrialization process is super important, but if you want to have agility, you need people. And only with skillful manufacturing people, you can do quick repair and quick fix. And this is, I think, is a challenge that we have, but I'm sure is a challenge that you will face too. And so, if it's so important, the capability of hands of people and manufacturing capability, I think Italy is an excellence in this example. And I would like to move to the next topic that is talking about our industrial platform. We own more than 26 own manufacturing sites, which of them 23 are in Italy. And we have been one of the first group in this sector believing verticalization in the 80s and the 90s, where nobody were doing so, to achieving a certain level of share of gross margin, but first of all, of agility and capability. And those unique capability brought, again, to the conversation with Axiom. Because without those investments in the 80s and the 90s, and without safeguarding the Italian artisanal heritage, we could not have achieved the service that Axiom was requiring. And not only, we gave them opportunity to see the way of working, because keep in mind, we are a luxury company. So when a client comes in the store and asks us to produce whatever it is, a bag or a dresses or a repair, they want it tomorrow. And so we can, from the sketch design to the real product prototype, in 24 hours, we are able to achieve the full product. And luxury works in a different way compared to others because our scale of prototypization is almost the scale of normal running manufacturing. So there is no huge difference of cost of prototypization and industrialized product. And this allows us a lot of flexibility and agility, but it's possible just in situation, in sector where there is a huge know-how of people and at the regional level, we go to look to the best people possible, not just at national level, but regional level. There are regions where are better for leather, regions where are better for silk, and regions where are better for other reasons. And so can you think about, like when we hear about today in the world in which we live, we always talk about globalization, but the scale of supply chain and manufacturing globalization is the most complex things and everybody we're talking about today. And it takes decades to train people in doing things that they've done for centuries in their country, because it's something that is passed along generation by generation. And so once it's lost, it's very hard to build that again. And so I want to go back to a point that makes all this possible, that at the end is the passion for culture. And this brings us to one of our last points. At the end, technology is about culture, because it's passion for something that is not being done, something that potentially can be done, and something that we want to try to doing. And this is really the roots of our group. And this is a coherent extension of our industrial culture, our drive to learn, to go beyond what is already known. And also for me, the key message here is in a world that often confuses visibility with value, we remain committed to the culture-driven project that allows us to affirm and deepen our identity and give us credibility for all the other projects. Because if we are going to be able to send something on the moon, then we're going to get a lot of credibility for all the rest. And at the end, when we started the journey of the America's Cup with Luna Rossa, has been done just, let's do something nice. There was no any marketing scope behind, and I strongly believe it. There was no return of investment analysis, nothing. It was just saying, we could do it, why we don't do it? It's a nice thing to be done. And that team in the end of the 90s allowed us to build the credibility that 25 years after allowed us to have at least a dialogue with a space company. And sometimes when I go back, I look at the name of the team, and the name of the boat is called Luna Rossa, that in English means red moon. And so it's also quite a nice coincidence. It's funny that already the word moon was in the roots of something that we started more than 30 years ago. And this is, I think, is super important. And just to conclude very quickly on my last point of the presentation, what I've learned from this experience working with a sector that is completely different from our sector, that cross-fertilization between industries is fundamental. Your sector is, I felt it from an outside perspective, is a very close environment, and that there is a lot of protection around it. But there are huge opportunities if there is more cross-fertilization, also to drive down costs and create efficiencies. Because I have to admit that when I seen the cost of some of the things that Axiom have made, I mean, I was impressed at how much expensive it was. And we work in luxury, and they say, for me, it's hard to make it that expensive. And we work on luxury, so I can guarantee you that, I don't know, somehow, there is a lot of inefficiency. I think the first reason why is because there is not enough dialogue between your sector and commercial sector. And the cost efficiency, I believe, could be tremendously driven down. And I was surprised because I saw that this morning was also touched by some of the speakers, is a very common topic. And so I just want to close that I'm happy that in my journey I've seen we share so much things in common, and we just need to talk each other, create more dialogue, and you will see the result. And Prada has always been a laboratory of possibility. And today, maybe, because we don't know, possibly will take us to the moon. So thank you to everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Bertelli, for taking us into this pioneering journey focused on how the contamination between sectors and crafted know-how, sailing and aerospace engineering can generate real innovation. It was the perfect, inspiring example to allow us to keep up the pace and dive right into the core of our second panel discussion. First, let's take a look at the screen for this short introductory video.
Innovation, dominance, safety. In the aerospace domain, technology is more than progress. It's power. Global technological competition is reshaping deterrence. Every new capability developed, every advanced integrated system is a strategic variable. That can shift the balance. Today we have the opportunity to take decisive steps for the security of our present and our future.
AeroSpace Power Conference 2025. Fighting and winning in the sky beyond the next decade.
As I mentioned earlier, the lessons from the war in Ukraine underscore the importance of adaptability and innovation in military strategy. Drone technology, advanced anti-aircraft systems, cyber capabilities. These technologies will play a pivotal role in future conflicts and must be prioritized in defense planning. Establishing air superiority today requires indeed, in addition to traditional assets, robust cyber and electromagnetic warfare capabilities. Cyber attacks can disrupt communication and control systems, rendering air assets ineffective or degrading their capabilities. Electromagnetic warfare, including jamming and spoofing, can degrade the effectiveness of both offensive and defensive air operations. Within this context, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and more broadly, emerging and disruptive technologies pose a new challenge, risks, and opportunities, and the question becomes how to set the right conditions for an effective development of such autonomous systems. More, how to retain technological edge, operational sovereignty, and security of supply when not only the supply chain is wider, more diverse than in the past, but as we're seeing right now, is also increasingly vulnerable. And again, how to evolve the industry paradigm with the goal of shortening weapon systems delivery schedule in order to face rapidly changing armed forces needs. To discuss all these challenging topics, please let's give a warm welcome to our moderator, Dr. Tommaso Ghidini, head of the Mechanical Engineering Department of the European Space Agency, but also an officer of Aeronautica Militare Selected Reserve with the rank of Lieutenant Colonel. And our 5 distinguished experts. First, Dr. Mara Motherway, Vice President at Strategy and Business Development for Lockheed Martin's Aeronautics Business Unit. Air Marshal Sir Gerard Mayhew, Senior Military Advisor at Biosystem. Engineer Lorenzo Mariani, MBDA Executive Group Director, Sales and Business Development, and MBDA Italia Managing Director. Mr. Masayuki Eguchi, Head of Integrated Defense and Space Systems at Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. And Engineer Domitilla Benigni, CEO at Health Group. Please, Dr. Ghidini, the stage is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good afternoon, Excellencies, colleagues, friends. It's a great honor to be here with you and moderate such an outstanding panel, I would say, on technologies. Actually, technology is also my domain, so for me it will be a real privilege to be able to talk to you. Actually, I will be here with the popcorn while you are talking, because you will give me quite a significant number of insights. We live in an era, of course, where air dominance and space dominance is now influencing quite significantly, let's say, the geopolitical scenario. And so, for me, I would like to take this opportunity to have your view. Actually, you are representing a number of aspects. You are representing systems, you are representing platform, strategies, but also industrial implementation. So all of these aspects, to me, are really key. And I would like to start with Jerry, actually. On base system, actually, you play a central role in the development of a number of, several, actually, combat air programs. And so what I would like to know from you is, how is the national investment in technologies influencing those programs? So how is your country investing in technologies which are supporting then those air programs?
Grazie, Tommaso. Buon pomeriggio. Firstly, I must apologize as the interloper here. I have either side of me, some deep industrial experts. I spent 35 years in the Royal Air Force, and I've done 18 months with BAE Systems. But it has opened my eyes to how much teamwork is going on in industry to try and support the warfighter. And I think at the heart of all of the industries that we represent here on the stage, you should know that there are teams of people, many thousands across the globe, trying to do the best thing for the warfighter every day. So it's about how we accelerate technology and how we accelerate all of the things that support technology to make sure that you get the best things for the end user, the customer, if you will. I would say during most of my early career in the Royal Air Force, you would see us all focusing on what the military demands were for technology. And that's the right thing, but of course, as you gain experience and you grow into other jobs in leadership, or you're in government, or indeed in industry, you soon find that other things are required in that balance of investment. And the United Kingdom has had a combat air strategy since 2018 to really balance out, or attempt to balance out, how best to achieve the balance between military requirement, cost, the good for the country, the GDP, the economy, and indeed industry, but also for that wider partnerships aspects of opportunity. And so it's great to be amongst friends and colleagues here on the stage who BAE Systems have continued to partner with throughout that time and beyond, not just in F-35, but also with MBDA and with Japanese and Italian friends now for the joint venture for GCAP, a really exciting time. Most, if not all, of that investment choice has come through the combat air strategy and the balance of investments that are required. Of course, the company has had decades of partnerships, collaborations, and investment choices because of the combat air platforms that we have provided to the front line. Tornado, Typhoon, F-35 partnership, and now looking to GCAP and Tempest as the Royal Air Force has it. The global context is driving change as well. Industry is changing, and it's changing how it invests because of what is going on around us. It must and is increasing pace. It is increasing its agility and is increasing its resilience. It's drawing on small and medium enterprises, as Johnny rightly pointed out this morning, to look at novel ways of increasing technological prowess for the good of the warfighter. And it's investing in high and low mix of capabilities. It's not just about the exquisite. It has to be about the small, cheap, mass, as much as the small numbers of high quality technological opportunities. It's also building from 4th generation, 5th generation into 6th generation. It's not waiting for any false separation of generations. It must be an evolution, and therefore the investment must see those spiral developments as much as taking revolution when opportunity arrives. And that's why we're looking at all the way from the small £9 in 2 hours to more over longer periods. So technologically, we are driving not just in collaboration, but also nationally to ensure that the warfighter gets what they require.
Thank you very much, Jerry. If we were to follow the original plan, I would say now we should talk to Domitilla Benigni. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it. She's the CEO of the ELT group. She couldn't make it, but she really wanted to be here with you. And so she insisted to actually pass her message to you, which we were very gladly taken. And so now there is a video from her as well. So now we have a physical presence and also a virtual presence for you. Can we send a video, please?
Good morning, everyone. And first of all, let me thank you, Aeronautica Militare and Chief of Staff, for the invitation to speak in this prestigious setting. And I apologize with all of you for my inability to attend in person. In any case, I would like to let you have my contribution in such relevant context. Today, the global situation is very complex, with the war on the borders of Europe and a very unstable geopolitical frame. This complexity is further increased by a digital revolution. We are witnessing a profound transformation of even the concept of traditional warfare. At the heart of this change is the electromagnetic spectrum. The ability to dominate the spectrum has become crucial in order to gain both strategic and tactical advantage, and can decide the outcome of a battle. Let's think, for instance, of the importance of the EMSO for 6th generation systems, such as the GCAP. So today, the dominance of the spectrum allows us direct access to data and information contained therein, which consequently give us considerable superiority in terms of forecasting and shaping the battlefield. For instance, CIMA, the ability of synchronized cyber and electromagnetic activities for offensive, defensive, informative, and enabling purposes. ELT Group can be seen as a visionary in this area. We have focused our core business in the dominance of electromagnetic spectrum environment since 70 years, dedicating substantial funding to the development of technologies and expertise. In particular, in conduct electromagnetic operation, the new frontier will be given by cognitive and predictive electronic warfare system that, by virtue of artificial intelligence, will be able to facilitate decision and actions. This complexity of cyber and electromagnetic spectrum environments will take the ability to control and make sense on the operational picture beyond the human cognition, including the right course of action required for the critical missions. Technological advances turns into an operational advantage and therefore success on the battlefield. So it's important to invest in sovereign technologies to guarantee its continuous evolutions, but above all, the availability assurance when needed. I'm absolutely proud to note that today our historical competence in electronic warfare and cyber, thanks to Cyphergate expertise, are identified as strategic competence in the new European plan contained in the new White Paper on Defence. As Europeans, we should promote industrial collaboration and understand that the creation of European industrial leaders with proven and trusted knowledge in this sector involves the surrender of segments of national industrial sovereignty and the mutual dependencies of individual nations from one another. This would lead to a solidity of the European defence ecosystem that would cascade into generating more financial capacity to dedicate to research and development, and to ensure to our armed forces advantage in military competition. In conclusion, never before has the motto "all for one and one for all" been more relevant. And in this perspective, Health Group is ready to stand side by side with our government, institutions, and military forces. So thank you again for this opportunity, and have a good debate.
Well, thank you virtually to Domitilla. Now we move back in the audience and now moving to Japan. Masayuki, Masa, as we said. How does Japan balance the local, actually, the indigenous defense innovation with the international collaboration, particularly considering the local defense, let's say, and security pressure?
Okay, thank you. Okay. Hi. Hello.
Can I try?
Okay, thank you, Tommaso. My name is Masayuki Eguchi, Vice President of Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. I have been working on Mitsubishi for 38 years, mostly in engineering sectors. And I have both experienced indigenous programs and also international programs. And both have their own merits and fun. In indigenous programs, we can solve all the issues by ourselves and also with our customer operational people and also government laboratory. That's all very fun. And the international program, on the other hand, we have a counterpart nation and industry and government. We have to do a lot of talks in that programs. And usually the international program has a work share on both nation or countries. And in any programs, we are facing a lot of challenges, mostly technical, sometimes budgetary. But we have to solve that issues in some very optimized manner. For that purpose, each country industries has a need to have a experience on indigenous programs, the know-how and experience to complete the systems. And that experience is very important in any international, multinational, bilateral programs. So both types of programs are very important in any kind of collaboration type.
Thank you, Maso.
Program.
Lorenzo, we are looking at the international environment. We are seeing the traditional threats, particularly in the conflicts currently ongoing, but also if you look at the global security scenario, we are seeing traditional threats, ballistic missiles, for example. But at the same time, we are seeing also new systems, new threats coming in, something also very close to my work, hypervelocity threats, hypervelocity weapons. What is MBDA doing in trying to anticipate or to respond to this situation?
Thank you. Thank you for your question. That is quite a complex one. Overall, we could be speaking for hours. I will try to be more synthetic and respecting the 5 minutes. First of all, yes, what we have observed, the lesson learned from conflicts, some conflicts in specific, is that I would not call them only conventional threats, but known threats are still present. Yes, some ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, I would say also artillery. Together with that, it was observed an action of less known threats, for sure hypersonic, but I would say also mass attack, less expected. Mass attacks of drones. The single drone is known, maybe. The mass attack maybe was not expected. The answer to this complex issue in terms of portfolio cannot be simple. Cannot be simple. It is complex as well. With MBDA, we are targeting 3 main streams of activities that we think can provide a solution in reasonable times, because there is also the time variable that is a very pressing one. First, we have to be able to produce more and to reduce time scales, lead times, and I think this is a crucial aspect, and it's not by chance that I'm putting it in position number 1. I will elaborate more maybe in the following round of questions, but this is, for us, priority number 1.
If I may, this is crucial
for
a very large number of technologies and domains.
It is, and to be very honest, it involves internal and external actions for every company. The second one is to introduce new technologies into existing weapons. For example, to make them collaborative. For example, introducing artificial intelligence. Easy to say, not so easy to do, especially if we want to do it with a development cycle that is shorter than in the past. Third one, developing new products for our portfolio that are matching those more evolved threats, such as the hypersonic ones. At MBDA, we are we are leaders of the HIDIS consortium that is developing an interceptor against hypersonic threats. But at the same time, we are also developing FCAS-W, that is a program for the development of the future cruise and anti-ship very long-range strike missiles to destroy precious targets that could be a threat themselves. So this, together with lower level of weapons, such as, for example, the new very short-range air defense system that we are developing for the Italian army. So the difficulty is to have many actions in parallel, many products developed in parallel. And I think it is worth mentioning that because I think it is core to the future, and specifically of the European industry. At MBDA, we are lucky because collaboration is key, and MBDA was built through a collaboration effort between among UK, France, Italy, and follow on also Germany and also Spain. So this is a crucial element because no one can have the strength, the knowledge, the money to develop such a widespread of products and cope with all those actions, including the production surge, alone. So this is the key message in my view. Spread of products, many actions building a complex solution to a very complex program. Collaboration is the key.
Thank you very much, Lorenzo. Now we move to the US. Lockheed Martin. So, Mara, Lockheed Martin is actually developing, designing scalable product, scalable systems. How do you ensure that these are exportable and collaborative with other systems, with other products, but also maintaining security standards that are key as well?
Well, thank you for having me here today. I'm really pleased to be here on behalf of Lockheed Martin alongside so many esteemed colleagues. The first thing that I would say is geography matters. So for Lockheed Martin, when we think about the partners and allies that we support, we look across and understand very clearly that every country and every region has national security objectives that are really tailored to the geopolitical considerations, the economic interests, and the domestic requirements. So whether they need deterrence, power projection, homeland defense. And we are really, really proud of those global partnerships that we have across government and industry, and the work that we do together to strengthen security around the world. What it does through those partnerships is really provide a window for us into the national security strategies that our partners and allies have, and those adversary considerations that inform the strategies. And now I spent a career in the United States Navy, primarily in the intelligence community. So that offered me a unique window and understanding of the threat and how that informs the capability requirements. And from a capabilities lens, there are a tremendous number of disruptive technologies that we talked to today, and my colleagues have already referenced the rate of change of technology. And one of them is autonomous capabilities, which at Lockheed we work in, and of course, they are principal. But we can't really lose sight of the next wave of disruption. So in the last decade, venture seed funding in sensing, connectivity, security, along with advanced computing and software, has been more than double that of autonomous systems. And so for us, we wonder to ourselves, why is that? And increasingly, when we think about the platforms that we develop, the capabilities are software defined, even though they remain hardware dependent. And that means that the threats are software defined. And whether that's from cyber, with the ever-extending perimeter that requires a security layer, or advanced adversary sensing. And technology, thus, is driving our force structure. And it's driving the force structure really to be interoperable and interconnected, which perfectly fits our ethos. So to assure our customers have those capabilities where the technology is in the driver's seat, there are a few things that we focus on and are focusing on today at Lockheed. One is designing with security in mind from the beginning, and that includes the risk assessments and implementing the robust testing and the validation processes. Another element is prioritizing next generation technology investment, whether it's enhanced electronic warfare, crewed, uncrewed teaming, advanced sensors, command and control technologies, all of that to drive the interconnectedness and the interoperability. A few examples of what we've been working on recently is an investment around the integration for air and space domains. And another is demonstrating 5th generation to 4th generation interoperability with our partners and allies. And what that does is that demonstration of that interconnectedness is really connecting the battle space so that our partners and allies can have a regional security posture and crisis response. And so, in short, all of our projects and programs are really collaborative efforts, and we continue to integrate that collective expertise, not just from the customers that we serve, but the partners that we work with on each and every project around the world. Because simply put, as we've learned today and every day, none of us can do this alone.
Thank you very much, Mara. Very well said. Thank you. Jerry, I'd like to know something about digital, the digital domain. Let's say for us, digital is seen from two aspects. On one side, there is the digital engineering, so virtual twin, digital twins, where you can anticipate performances, but also maybe even going into the virtual testing domain. So really the engineering development phase of a project. On the other side, there is the, say, synthetic environments where you can simulate environments and you can anticipate air combat scenarios. These two words, how do they help, or how do they, in your opinion, play a role into the development of new air combat systems? Of course, from your perspective and from base system perspective.
Thank you. This is a really exciting thing. I think that the difference that is now being seen of how you use digital twinning, digital tools, modern synthetics, gaming technology, etc., that is available to us at home, never mind in industry sometimes, how you bring that to bear in order to achieve time and cost savings for the capabilities that you are developing is really exciting to us. And I would use an example at the moment of the Flying Combat Air Demonstrator, which will be used as an aircraft in preparation for Tempest and GCAP. This is something that we are using as a vehicle to drive a much shorter time frame of development of the 6th generation platform that we are working on. Of course, we haven't done this for over 3 decades. Typhoon, the introduction of Typhoon was obviously worked using, you remember the experimental aircraft program, the EAP. It looked a bit like a Typhoon, a bit like a Tornado put together. But it was used as a demonstrator of some of the technologies. Fast forward now nearly 4 decades later from that aircraft to how tools and abilities to really bring things to bear in the synthetic and digital environment without even flying the demonstrator, it's a really exciting time. And that's where the company is concentrating its efforts at the moment. So for that demonstrator, it has been set a challenge to chop 50% of the development time that we have done on any previous combat air platform. That is significant in itself, but it also is looking at the cost savings that you do by bringing a single platform before the main aircraft arrives later in the decade and into next. So we're using technologies like hot isostatic pressurization to bring extreme temperatures and pressures together to mold parts for this aircraft and therefore for GCAP Tempest. 3D printing is being used throughout. New computer technologies, models, and indeed reprogramming rapidly in order to achieve test results and move on. We're bringing in innovative suppliers, innovative digital suppliers who can help us take things from concept through to regulatory compliance in a very short time. I was talking to someone who last week did a test on something where the concept was, can we put a new set of instrumentation into the aircraft cockpit in order that we get a readout on the following and therefore can get it certified? Now that person had been involved in programs 2 decades ago where that concept to capability would have taken 6 months. They did it in an hour. And the regulator was able to sign off that technology with complete confidence that the digital processes that had been used were sufficient for the regulator to say, yes, that's good to go fly. Now, if you match that with synthetic capabilities and simulators now, where you can put test pilots and test engineers together with actual components for the aircraft, linking the synthetic world to components outside that are on test rigs, you get both inside the cockpit and the engineering done in a much faster time. And that is also what is going on for GCAP at the moment. Components are live tested on rigs with folks inside cockpit, a very clearly representation of the GCAP and flying demonstrator cockpit. You can change it on a regular basis to make sure that the inside of the cockpit is appropriate. And that again is testing for the regulator and for the end user some of these things that are now in production. The flying demonstrator itself, because of those new processes, digitization and synthetics, is already 50% built, and that includes fuselage and wings. So we're really looking forward to taking that challenge of accelerating 50% quicker to be able to fly a demonstrator within the next few years. And then we go into Tempest and GCAP productions afterwards, drawing on the goodness that will have provided.
Very good. Thinking of this, or let's say, elaborating a little bit further, do you also foresee to have instrumentation on board that then you can use to generate data to become more precise with your digital twin as you go, like to learn from flight in a more, I would say, iterative manner and maybe quicker manner, thanks to the big data capabilities we have today?
I would say so, but again, if you can do it synthetically, or indeed a link between synthetic and components on the ground that can not actually have to have test flights, with a real aircraft,
it's even better.
Then that's even better. We have already done over 200 hours with Rolls-Royce, BAE Systems, and the Royal Air Force test crews in order to de-risk and not require live flying.
Thank you very much. Now, Masa, back to you. Actually, this is a question which I would like also to ask to the other colleagues on the panel, because I think it impacts everybody. If you look ahead, say 10, 20 years, you know, in ESA we have done the Technology Vision 2040, so really looking ahead in both space and aerospace domain. What are, in your opinion, the big revolutions to come?
Yes, we MHI are working on various programs, including fighter aircraft, helicopters, and land combat vehicle, and naval vessels, including submarines and surface vessels, and also missile systems and torpedoes. And I think it's clear that software technology is the most important, and that will provide us disruptive technologies. And any platforms we are working, introducing the connectivity with unmanned vehicles. As many people know that modern warfare is getting into the dependency on unmanned vehicles. I think in the near future, 100,000 or millions unmanned vehicles flying and moving on the ground, and or on the water or under the water, operating with manned platforms. In such an environment, we have to develop very sophisticated command and control software to manage all the manned and unmanned platforms. So I think the development itself is very difficult and important. Of course, the AI technology will be introduced in such activities. And so such an development itself is very important, but also evaluation of development software is also important to keep the safety of soldiers and also maximize the operational performance. And also
combined to quantum as well? Are you thinking into the combination with quantum computing as well?
Yeah, quantum computing, of course, is essential because to evaluate the efficiency of developed software, it's not easy compared to the very legacy software programs, because too many nodes and components are included in such a system. So the quantum computing is one approach to evaluate the efficiency or safety of such a system. So anyway, the software technologies is very getting more important and in our defense system business.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
As I said, I cannot resist to ask the same question to all of the panelists. So, Lorenzo, please.
Thank you. Well, first of all, allow me to say that I think we don't have 20 years. Not because I will be retired.
There are no asteroids coming to us, though.
No, but because I'm really convinced that the challenge is much closer in time. We should really have an horizon of 4 to 5 years for several elements. Allow me also to take again the point of the different streams. It's very difficult for, doesn't matter which company, to cope with heavy investment in production, to increase, to surge the production, and at the same time to devote large resources to developing new technologies, new products. So I think the two things will interact. So it's not, it's unavoidable to think that sometimes the two things are also conflicting one with the other. Nevertheless, stream number one, for sure, we have to increase production. It is not such a technological matter. It involves internal investment, so premises, tools,
facilities,
facilities, people for sure, and external. Most of the times, at least in our business, the bottlenecks are within the supply chain. And so our action has always been recently in helping the supply chain, signing contracts in advance, have partnership contracts with mass production also for them, and also in order to reduce the risk of blocking production and blocking maintenance as well. Second theme, technologies. I think we can find in many places what are the technologies that are being embedded or will be embedded in missile systems. For sure, artificial intelligence, for sure, high-power computing, for sure, we have propulsion, new technologies of propulsion, image processing. But the point is that all of those have to be included in our products with a time scale, a time cycle that is much shorter than we did in the previous cycle of products. I think this involves several elements of our activity, and I think also we can learn something from experiences that we have in front of us. I would say, for example, space. What happened in the space domain with SpaceX, I think should teach a lot to more traditional defense industry. Nevertheless, there too, it's about people. I say people because STEM is the keywords, science, technology, engineering, mathematicians. Europe is not producing enough in this moment. So even for a company like us, we hired more than 2,000 people per year in the last 3-4 years. Nevertheless, we need more. And it's very difficult to find more.
Yeah, I completely agree. We also miss critical competencies on some of the big topics coming up. And if we have not the people, we have not the competencies, and hence we have not the technologies.
Absolutely. And in addition to this, we have experienced the need to introduce a very heavy digitalization in our processes. Seems natural today that everybody has an iPhone, an iPad, and everything is connected. But this is not the case for all weapon systems that are being used in the past. So this is another further very urgent step that we are taking care of.
Yeah.
And this is, I think, something that also involves some process aspect. Because we can also claim that we should reduce the development time of a product, but if we don't also reduce the time that is used to conceive that product, to agree with the user, to have the requirement, to write the contract. I'm sorry to mix very technological and very practical elements, but this is, I think, something that will clearly have an impact on how quickly we will be able to give a different pace to our development. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorenzo. Jerry, in your perspective, what is the big things? What are the big things coming?
So what particularly are you wanting to look for? There's lots of big things coming.
Yes, to me, is what are the key technologies that you think will be the next 10 to 20 years for us?
I think the challenge for us is one that is perennial, which is overcoming the interoperability challenge. Because we will all advance technology. It has its own way of advancing, doesn't it? It evolves. But if we are becoming more exquisite, and to General Gassetti's point this morning, more expensive and more secure, how do we break out of that loop to ensure that interoperability does not suffer? So technologically advanced, price managed, but we are becoming more and more insular in our ability to share with partners at the user community, never mind the industry community. So I think our biggest challenge is to ensure that our security apparatus and indeed our ability to work together for the common good is not compromised. And that's a policy challenge probably more than it is a technology one.
Yeah, thank you. Mara, from your perspective.
Well, I guess I'll start with where I started when I opened, is that geography matters. And it depends on the geography that you're operating in, and because that determines the battle space needs and the sophistication of the aggressor and the defender. And we see that all over the globe today, and we've seen it in history to time. So interoperability is very important. We'll continue to see the rate of change of technology, whether it's all the way up to quantum or artificial intelligence. But the deployment and employment of that technology will be around the geography and what the aggressor and the defender have to play with. So I believe we'll always have core capabilities. There will always be some core capabilities central to the fight. And history tells us that we will need what's ready now. We will never have available to us historically what we wish we had when we were asked to go to war. And so we do need each other. It goes back to the partnerships and the interoperability around that. And those are policy issues for sure. But we will have to employ and modify and modernize what we have today. And so at the end of the day, the technology and the rate of change of technology, those capabilities will be instantiated in enduring core capabilities, and then I would say a low-end mix of new technologies, but it will be about what we can operate with, how we can interconnect, and how we can leverage what we have at hand.
Thank you, Mara. Lorenzo, I come back to you because you touched on something which intrigues me quite significantly. So we talked about, with all the panelists, about technology. Mara also said we need then to translate it into an industrial product. So if you think of critical needs for industry, industrialization, serialization, but also, you said it, competencies. What would you define as, now going into a concrete example, what would be, in your opinion, the most critical ones coming up?
I must say that probably this is also heavily dependent on the specific sector, so I will answer for missile systems.
Of course.
I believe that an element, a critical element where we should work together with our users in order to shorten timescales is the qualification process. I think in qualification is a phase, a very delicate phase, of course, in which competencies of the industry and of the user interact in a very close manner. Not always the needs are really phased. Sometimes there is also some bureaucratic approach on one side or on the other that has to be overcome. I think that in really many cases where we should shorten the development and put into service time lies within the qualification phase. Then, of course, but this is, I think, true for everybody, the introduction of the digital systems, digital twin, spiral developments, generically can help having complex systems developed, managing better the risk and allowing a better refinement also of requirements. But this is, I think, common to everybody.
Thank you, Lorenzo. Mara, looking at Lockheed Martin, how is Lockheed Martin ensuring that your systems stay ahead of the game, or stay at least state of the art?
Well, for the Lockheed Martin aeronautics systems that we design and develop, we really think about the modernization of those systems and the relevancy of the platforms for many, many decades. And so the capabilities that we're designing and fielding are enduring. The U-2 and the C-130 are both 70 years young. It's quite remarkable. The C-130 really continues to be the air mobility workhorse across the globe. It's currently in 23 countries, and it's operating routinely in those countries as a workhorse with a new suite of upgrades that we began in 2020. The other modernization that we're working on is the F-16. That's 60 years young. It's still in the fight for 28 countries. The Block 70 and 72 is the newest platform, F-16 platform coming off the production line today. And we have modernized that in conjunction with the 5th generation capabilities to really develop the most advanced 4th generation fighter, multi-role fighter that's available today. At any given time, an F-16 or a C-130 is in the air for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year around the world. So we are really quite proud of that and the modernization that we've done around those historic and remarkable platforms. Then you have the F-35, which we've delivered 1,000 of those aircraft and 1 million flight hours to date. And that platform in 20 years has completed that. Since July, one F-35 has rolled off the production line every day. When you really think about that, that's air dominance at scale, and that's ready now. It was designed from the onset, as I mentioned before, to be modernized and upgraded in a modular fashion. It really is the key battle space enabler for 20 nations, and 12 nations are operating from home soil. And it does offer stability and interoperability and unmatched value, and really reinforcing the partnerships and what it means to have global deterrence in those kinds of partnerships. We are doing continuous upgrades on that platform from a software perspective and a hardware to make sure that the allies are ahead of ready. And we're doing that in collaboration. We really do think of the F-35 as a central node in the battle space right now in a network-centric architecture. And we think that it's facilitating, and we know it's facilitating, the secure information sharing across every domain: air, space, land, sea, cyber. And we're testing that and proving that in multiple different exercises every day. We recently were at Ramstein Flag with Dutch F-35s, and what we did there was demonstrate an ability for the F-35 to share classified data in real time with a ground-based rocket system via indigenous command and control. And I think that example really tells the story of taking an allied capability and the indigenous capabilities that my colleagues are talking about today that are very important to Europe, and partnering to get the maximum effect. And we did this using Open Systems Gateway technology, which what that enables was the Allied air and missile defense system to really receive precise targeting information from the F-35, and then it allowed them to detect, track, and defeat the target more effectively. And that Ramstein Flag, I think it really also demonstrated the quick and effective nature of the Allied air forces and their ability to respond in very first days of a collective defense operation as part of that exercise. So those are some of the things that we're working on in terms of the modernization, and we continue to do with the F-35 and with our other platforms. And we're continuing to prove out manned and unmanned, and the cutting edge and legacy, and the mix of a core capability with the new and emerging disruptive technology and what that means for the interoperability and the interconnectedness. And we do really believe the F-35 will remain that core capability of Allied combat air for the foreseeable future. It is the most capable aircraft in the world today. And from its inception, we did pursue a collaborative effort around it to ensure that we could integrate those upgrades and the collective expertise and contributions of our partner countries around the world. So we're very proud of the work that's being done to modernize it. And we really do reflect on the importance of instantiating and incorporating the disruptive technology that's available out there, and also reflecting and recognizing the new and emerging platforms and I would say differentiating types of capabilities that our partners and allies are trying to develop and design, and what that means in an interconnected battle space. Because as I mentioned earlier, regardless of what fight we are in the future, the core capability is going to be critical to any successful battle. But we will have to ensure that we're interoperable and interconnected with any of the new high-low capabilities that are coming online.
Thank you, Mara. Thank you very much. I must say that actually your answers have stimulated quite significantly the audience. So I received quite a number of questions, which I'm trying now to actually prioritize a little bit, because there are quite some. I'd like to start with something which also find it very, very interesting in a very, I would say, worst case scenario. So suppose that in case of a large scale conflict, the question is very, very, I would say, relevant, asking, is the defense industry capable of producing the subsystems, the systems, the weapons, down to the ammunitions? I mean, all what is needed in case of a large scale conflict for the free world air forces, and doing it at, let's say, keeping the cost under control. I'd like to ask all of you, because I think this is relevant to all of you. So whoever wants to start, otherwise I will ask you by the name. Mara, please, I see you are.
And I'll be quick, and I'll give my colleagues plenty of time to elaborate. When you think about the ability to produce at scale, where we are today and across the defense industry versus where we were, say, during World War II is very different in terms of redundant supply chains and the capability at scale. So the importance is to ensure that we have the resilience in our supply chain, that we continue to partner and look at what can be done at scale and build up the strength around the supply. And I think the defense industry stands ready to do what is necessary to ensure that we are protecting and securing global security. We have to really, though, strengthen that supply chain.
Thank you. Other volunteers, otherwise I will volunteer you.
Thanks. Yeah. So I would say that we learned a lot of lessons in COVID about supply chains and the dangers of restricting those supply chains. So this is not something that the global context now has made us think about. I think for the last 5 years we've been coming to terms with things are changing, we learned some lessons, but now there is an extra catalyst of the global context making us look differently at our supply chains and the needs of our nations that we serve. And it's also different for those nations who have some government ownership as opposed to private ownership, and therefore how those two categories react. Also, it's not a one-size-fits-all. If you have a high-low mix of capabilities, it's probable that the low end is quick, it's resilient, it's innovative in its ability to meet the supplies that it requires, and therefore it's ready on time. But the fact remains that we still build some things that are extremely technical and challenging and come from international supply systems that do take time. And I think that's our challenge at the moment, is increasing the pace, being ready in time, not necessarily having thousands of shelves full of things that are no longer relevant, but ensuring that the supply chain can react in time. And that requires governments to ensure that not just private venture is facilitating those stockpiles, but also governments are in a position to forward stock and support industry to make sure they know what they've got to do when the ready-in-time question comes.
Thank you. Lorenzo.
Another volunteer. I'm another volunteer. No, listen, I think, needless to say, that 75 years without a war in Europe and the dividend of peace have affected the industry, especially in the last 20, 25 years before COVID. I fully share the consideration on COVID and follow on the Ukrainian conflict, because it was what showed really to us and to our governments how dangerous is not to be ready for mass production and not to be capable of a control of the supply chain. This does not mean that every country needs to have a full control of the supply chain, because I think this is quite impossible. But nevertheless, it means that there must be a process. The process is in place. Just to give some figures, simply acting on the supply chain critical nodes and on some internal elements, MBDA has doubled the number of missiles that have been output from the company in 2.5 years to 3 years. So this means that partially some measures are feasible, and those have already been put in place. Then when you come to critical elements such as the one you mentioned, rare earth more than explosives or other key factors, then the process is much longer, in my view. The physical industrial capability plus the insurance that at least in major countries we have in Europe the capability to access and maintain alive the supply chain. I think this is a process that is in place, will take some time, and requires by definition some level of sharing.
Thank you, Lorenzo. Masa.
Yes, Mitsubishi basically is an integrator company, and maybe the time frame before the COVID, the Japanese domestic market is very limited, and our supply chain is very weak. But several years ago, our government changed their policy, strengthening defense system, and that will introduce a new business in our defense sectors. So these 2 or 3 years, our supply chain is getting better and stronger, and also the international program are getting more, and including GCAP program. That will also have some contribution to our supply chain to have a more business.
Yeah. Thank you, Masa. Actually, there is another question which I think it's very much related to this, as well as it goes very much into the direction of what you have said. Meaning, you all said the same in this respect, which is you want to have a faster, modular, more secure upgrade of the defense systems. And the governments need to do procurement. We want to know, actually, the question, the gentleman or the gentlewoman who is asking this was really focusing on what, from an industrial perspective, should the government do to facilitate this? Like from a procurement perspective, what would be, from your perspective, the, let's say, the more agile procurement that government can do? And this is also very interesting for me because I represent 23 governments. So for me, knowing your answer will help me in streamlining how to procure faster, more efficiently, in this case, new weapon systems.
If I may.
Please.
We are going through, at the moment, a defense review in the United Kingdom, and that is relatively close to being delivered into the public eye. Alongside that will be a defense industrial strategy, a revision of a defense industrial strategy for the United Kingdom. And as part of those reviews and studies, we were asked as industry, how should we put our ideas forward to government to ensure that some of these things are taken into consideration, not done to us or not thought about. So there is a collaborative approach during these reviews to look at how we increase our pace, resilience, and ability to react to the demands of UK government and indeed partnerships. I think for us, the big thing was not just having a single speed procurement process.
Very good.
Because something that is at the higher end of the market is more complex, is more challenging, will require greater investigation, legal work, etc., collaborative work. Something at the simple end needs to be done very quickly.
Very good.
During operations, we're very good at urgent operational requirements, facilitating fast track through a procurement, but we don't do that generally in peacetime. So how do we get multiple speeds into the procurement system to facilitate it was one of our inputs.
And complementing this, and then complementing the question for all the other panelists, AI. So to have AI-based procurement, let's say, processes, some of the contracts you may easily ask AI to write, so to speed up and facilitate the procurement phase. Do you think it's a mechanism, or do you see other mechanisms on top of this? Jerry, if you want to add something, otherwise we move.
Forgive me, it's not my area of expertise, but again, the tools are available, but the challenge will be ensuring you have the permissions to look into collaborative systems where large parts of our defense industries are in partnerships, internationally or indeed nationally. So how AI breaks through some of those boundaries will probably be a challenge for us all, but the tools are becoming available, and if secured and assured, then yes, they should be as a tool for us.
Mara.
Well, with AI, more narrowly, I'll start in terms of the question around the utilization in some of the procurement processes. As Sir Jerry said, it does go to, you have many companies engaged and involved and working together, and so it's the utilization of the AI. To effectively use artificial intelligence in something from a proposal to contractual mechanisms to on either side of the government, the data would need to be trained effectively. So the use of AI to get the consistent results requires consistent training of the data. And so that would depend upon whether that consistency in the data being trained so that you get a similar result. And so I think that that's very important in artificial intelligence to really understand how to maximize the value of that. The second thing, and I guess more broadly on the acquisition and the processes for sales, similar to the UK, the US government is doing a review of its acquisition regulations and processes, as well as its foreign military sales processes, to look for areas where efficiencies can be gained, recognizing then the same way that the United Kingdom is recognizing is that there are varying levels of acquisitions and complexities of systems that are being bought. So where can you find adjustments or levers in a system that will enable work to be done or contracts to be executed more quickly and decisions to be made, and where can you instantiate technological advances in that and reduce some of what I refer to as the manual processes.
Thank you, Mara. Lorenzo, in your perspective, how can the governments help in having a faster procurement?
First of all, I believe it's not a matter really of tool as a primary element. Every time you have big data, AI and high-power computing are an answer, and probably in some cases this is true. But I think there are two different elements. One is the complexity of the requirement. Normally, the speed of the procurement is heavily affected by how industry and user can agree, exchange, receive the requirement. this is, I think, an area where in some cases it could be much faster. The other element is whenever there are complex systems, such as the Eurofighter is an example, but think about the Aster missile that is used by UK, France, Italy, plus export countries, or Meteor missile, 6 nations, 4 airplanes. So it's really a complex element, and there I think the procurement agency plays a role. I don't have a solution. I've seen many cases. I can see that whenever, in some cases, it's a good solution, agencies like OCCAR. OCCAR is a very effective way of procuring defense systems for us. In that, I like to see the geographical Europe, including also UK, of course. Or in some other cases, when one nation can make procurement also for others. That is another idea. So agency, new agency, procurement delegated to somebody else, but it's obvious that procurement of complex systems create complexity that cannot be solved with the usual procurement processes that we might have normally in national procurement.
Thank you.
AI is a very good, very strong tool, and especially we are looking AI for the application to the MRO business, maintenance, recovery, and overhaul. And AI is a very strong tool to predict the failure in the parts, and also maybe applicable spare parts procurement prediction. Those are areas we are looking and talking with our customers.
Thank you. I think we are perfectly in time for a last question from the audience, which I think, again, to me is very relevant. If you look at the current geopolitical scenario, how do you see the collaboration, the industrial collaboration between Europe, transatlantic, and globally, let's say, perspective in the next decade? How do you think the industrial, let's say, global collaborations will evolve? Not an easy one, no? Please.
Yeah, international program is fun, very fun. Most of my career is basically was an international program of defense systems and also space programs. And currently, we, Mitsubishi, are working with the UK and Italy and US in various defense and space programs. And so it is true we cannot procure any material parts or components by one nation. We need another nation's products and technology for defense system integration. So it is essential to work together with other nations' industries in current environment. And we are very looking forward to continue this situation.
Very good. Thank you, Maso. Who else wants to join?
My opinion is that collaboration is in progress and is accelerating. Then probably it will be a multi-dimension collaboration. I mean, as we have been saying, in some cases, collaboration is transatlantic because it is the right collaboration to be done by either single countries or more than one country in Europe with the US. In some other cases, there is an element of sovereignty that Europe needs, and in those cases, models like MBDA, I think, will progress more and more. In some other cases, we will still have some vertical capabilities that could remain at national level. I give one example, the French nuclear capability for deterrence. I think that will remain as a specific element of France.
Yeah.
But I'm saying it in a positive way. Differentiation will be absolutely an element of richness.
Jerry.
I would agree. Partnerships occur because people have similar interests, similar technological requirements, similar threat challenges, and therefore collaborations will continue and new collaborations will exist. Global geopolitics will have its play, obviously, but we will look for like-minded people who want to do the same things and wish to be interoperable with our nation, never mind with our industries. So I don't see that being a significant turn to the left or turn to the right. It's just continuing with the journey of collaboration.
Thank you. Mara.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. We are in aeronautics, we're in about 60 countries today working on partnerships and in collaborations with the platforms that we develop, and that is because of long-standing relationships that are built and shared interests, and those will continue, and they will remain very important to us, regardless of the of what conflict could arise. We would expect to be there for each other with those partnerships.
Thank you. Well, I think we have grilled you quite significantly today. Thank you very much for this very, very insightful perspective from your side. What I would like to say is that I think I completely share what you have told us, and actually I bring home myself quite a significant amount of very good directions and very good information from you, and I certainly will contact you after this panel, which I recommend everybody to do as well. If you have anything you want to discuss directly, of course, this conference is the perfect opportunity to do so. But there is something before we leave. If you look at what we have discussed today and you look at the future, we have discussed quite in detail about the future of industry, the future of defense, the future scenarios. What are the 2-3 keywords that you would like to bring home with you from this discussion, or maybe that you would like the audience to think after this panel? Something that you would like to, put the focus on. 2-3 elements. Is it, I don't know, technology? Is it competencies? Is it whatever? Just
volunteer.
Please, go.
Acceleration and collaboration.
Very good. Mara or Asa?
My loving word is friendship, so that's a key word for any activities.
Very good.
Not limited to business, but...
Very good.
Technology and interoperability.
Very good.
Can I have 4? Skills, capacity, technology, foresight, the vision to continue to push.
Very good. I think with these keywords, I would like to conclude the panel, thanking you very much. And thank you to the audience for the very stimulating questions.
Thank you to our panelists and moderator, and thank you to the audience for the many, many questions we received through the ASPC app. We're heading toward the end of our first day together, but first we have a further moment of reflection around a prestigious military project that the Italian defense, the government, and Aeronautica Militare are particularly proud of, GCAP. As you know, GCAP stands for Global Combat Air Program, a novel partnership launched by Italy, Japan, and the UK in 2022 for the development and production of a next-generation crewed fighter aircraft. This partnership is based on equality of rights for and investment by the founding partners, as well as on the principle of freedom of action and freedom of modification at national level, that, as in other major programs, ensure full operational and technological sovereignty on the core platform, and therefore an obvious political advantage for Italy, the UK, and Japan, which will maintain total access and control on all technological resources necessary for its development, production, maintenance, and updates. GCAP carries broader geopolitical implications, particularly in shaping the trilateral dynamics among the UK, Italy, and Japan. While the UK and Italy share NATO membership, Japan's growing alignment with NATO and deepening bilateral ties with both countries reflect the increasing significance of Indo-Pacific security cooperation. Moreover, the program necessitates compatibility with NATO standards while integrating the distinct requirements of its partners, adding complexity to its management. Cultural and geographical differences also pose challenges. Unlike previous European collaboration, GCAP spans 2 continents, requiring effective coordination despite different industrial practices and strategic outlooks. And while Italy and the UK have a long history of joint projects supported by companies with footprint in both countries like Leonardo and MBDA, Japan's participation marks a strategic shift in its approach to international defense cooperation. These deepening ties underscore the broader significance of GCAP beyond the development of a next-generation fighter, positioning the UK, Japan, and Italy as key players in shaping the future of air combat capabilities. Without further ado, I'm eager to leave the stage to listen to the Chief Executive of the Global Combat Air Program International Government Organization. Please, let's give a warm welcome to Mr. Masami Oka.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure and a great honor to be here today, and I would like, first of all, to express my deep appreciation for General Goretti to inviting me to this very important event and giving me the opportunity to speak in front of such distinguished groups of people. My name is Masami Oka, as I introduced. And obviously, I'm Japanese, but today I'm not representing Japan at all, but rather I'm representing an international organization comprising Italy, Japan, and the United Kingdom. I'm the chief executive of the GCAP International Government Organization, or JIGO. The JIGO, located in Reading, the United Kingdom, was established in December 2024. To oversee the Global Combat Air Program, or GCAP. GCAP was launched in December 2022 as a trilateral development program by Italy, Japan, and the United Kingdom to develop a 6th-generation fighter aircraft for delivery in the 2030s. It is planned to replace the UK Royal Air Force and Italian Air Force Eurofighter Typhoons and the Japan Air Self-Defense Force F-2 fighters. Despite being in its early stages, GCAP holds the promise to becoming one of the most significant defense programs for the 3 countries in the coming decades. Today, I will first cover the significance of this program and the challenges we face. Next, I will present our vision for a 6th-generation combat air platform to respond to these challenges. And finally, I will explain our strategy for delivering the program, including how we are structuring ourselves to ensure success. First, I would like to touch upon the strategic significance of our 3 countries embarking on this ambitious endeavor together, as well as the unique challenges that must be addressed in this pursuit. The global security environment has seen significant and serious changes and challenges emerge that none of us could have foreseen just a few years ago. I think one outgrowth has been a broader realization that the security of the Euro-Atlantic and that of the Indo-Pacific are inseparably linked together. Italy, Japan, and the United Kingdom already had long-standing close relationships based on a shared interest in maintaining global peace and stability through ensuring a rules-based international order. Against such a backdrop, it was only natural for the 3 countries to seek to deepen their national security ties one of the most intensive and long-standing means of which is to pursue collaborative defense capability development. GCAP is also a strategic defense industrial partnership, a long-term commitment by 3 like-minded partners that will serve as the foundation for broader cooperation and contribute significantly to promoting security and prosperity in both the Euro-Atlantic and the Indo-Pacific. GCAP marks the first time Italy, Japan, and the United Kingdom have joined forces on a defense program of this scale and complexity. It offers a significant opportunity to bring together our diverse experiences and share advanced technologies to deliver world-leading military capabilities as delivering best value for money whilst sharing the cost of development. Beyond integrating our supply chains and further strengthening our industrial and technology bases, the program will also deliver wider economic and industrial benefits. Financially, the resources devoted to GCAP can be regarded as strategic investments in high-value industrial sectors with substantial innovative potential. These investments will serve as catalysts for our national industries, thereby reinforcing the technological foundation of economies. GCAP is supporting huge investments in research and development across all 3 countries, promoting advanced industrial capabilities such as digital design and additive manufacturing, which will enable faster delivery. On the human resources front, GCAP presents an unparalleled opportunity to select, train, and employ highly skilled personnel in strategic fields, especially in the STEM disciplines of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. This initiative will initiate a virtuous cycle of collaboration, including universities, research centers, and think tanks, promoting the development of a new generation of professionals equipped with advanced competencies. GCAP is growing the skills base in all 3 countries, with thousands of highly skilled individuals already engaged in GCAP across Italy, Japan, and the UK, growing industrial skills and technologies for the future. Next, I would like to move on to the strategic challenges we face, to which GCAP must be capable of responding. We are currently experiencing an era of unprecedented transformation in which technological advancements are reshaping all facets of our lives, from communications and industry to defense and geopolitics. In tandem, threats are evolving rapidly as well as proliferating, including advanced air defense systems and combat aircraft of potential adversaries. As modern warfare becomes increasingly complex and technologically sophisticated, developing a 6th-generation fighter is imperative to maintaining control of the air and operational advantage. The long-standing concept of air superiority and the reliance on leading-edge technology previously dependent on existing platforms, doctrines, sensors, and effectors is now being challenged and potentially undermined by peer competitors. In order to continue to ensure the air superiority critical for our country's defense, we must address the following key strategic challenges we see emerging from potential adversaries' activities and the evolving future conflict environment. First, significant investments in high-end stealth and counter-stealth technology, which creates a vicious cycle between the ability of potential adversaries to detect our assets and our ability to detect theirs. Second, a contested and congested battle space in which the capability to maintain information advantage and efficiently handle big data will be critical. Third, increasingly advanced multi-domain operations, which requires a new level of interoperability to deliver coordinated cross-domain effects. Fourth, emerging disruptive technologies, such as artificial intelligence, which must be integrated onto platforms quickly in order to maintain relevant operational capabilities. This highlights just a few of the strategic challenges we are facing. Still, we know that to sustain air superiority and maintain a credible combat air capability, we must be able to see and anticipate these challenges and have the tools to do so. The conflict in Ukraine illustrates that the time needed to develop these essential competencies and iterate them within the space battle will be, within the battle space will be critical. And we cannot afford to have the option to lag behind. Amidst growing interstate competition and rapid technological change, GCAP will help ensure we can help ahead of the threat for decades to come, and I would like to turn next to how we intend to do so. Given the changing security environment and strategic challenges I've just mentioned, in GCAP, we are seeking to develop a combat air platform that can work with other systems, such as fifth-generation aircraft and autonomous collaborative platforms to achieve air superiority in the battlefield in both the Euro-Atlantic and Indo-Pacific theaters. To this end, we are seeking to equip GCAP with the most advanced capabilities. I'll mention just 4 here, corresponding to the 4 challenges I mentioned just now. These capabilities will be critical for any next-generation platform. First, low observability and an efficient power propulsion system. The airframe will need to balance multispectral low observability and maneuverability, while the engine must be capable of generating substantial power to ensure optimal performance and high efficiency during flight operations. Second, advanced and integrated sensing capabilities. The aircraft should feature advanced sensing technology, such as next-generation radars and high-performance IR and electronic surveillance sensors that can provide superior understanding of the battle space, enabled by next-level data fusion. Third, advanced network warfare and interoperability. GCAP will seek to collaborate with unmanned platforms and provide full interoperability with our key partners, as allies cannot fight together effectively without being able to communicate with each other across networks and domains. Fourth, open system architecture. Unlike traditional aircraft programs, GCAP will feature an agile and adaptable design that enables flexible response to future threats. This will allow cost-effective and seamless integration of new technologies throughout its life cycle, ensuring freedom of modification and upgrade. Future conflicts featuring the strategic challenges I mentioned before will demand unprecedented adaptability, connectivity, and resilience, requiring combat air systems to counter emerging threats while seamlessly integrating effects across domains. To achieve this, GCAP will feature a new level of survivability, multi-domain sensing, and operational effectiveness. The aircraft will serve as the core of a system of systems that will be capable of integrating capabilities from other platforms, delivering coordinated and multi-domain effects. GCAP will be more than simply an advanced fighter aircraft. It will represent a new paradigm for combat air, incorporating cutting-edge technologies and cross-domain capabilities. With competitors aggressively pursuing similar technologies, maintaining a technological edge requires fostering rapid innovation while ensuring affordability and interoperability with existing platforms. This approach will ensure GCAP remains a highly flexible, upgradable, and future-proof combat asset prepared to shape the next era of air superiority. From what I have explained so far, I am sure you can appreciate the immense challenges as well as opportunities that lie before us in the form of GCAP. The success of a program as complex as GCAP hinges not only on the technology and development work that will bring the aircraft to life, but also the delivery construct, or the governance structures and processes set up to ensure the program can be carried out as efficiently as possible. From the start of our joint endeavor, Italy, Japan, and the United Kingdom have actively learned from past experiences and agreed that an empowered joint delivery organization will be essential to the successful and timely delivery of GCAP. The three countries are striving to set up the best organizational and contractual framework to this end, both on the government and industry side. We are also aware that any organization cannot perform without key enablers, such as a secure, collaborative digital working environment. Working across multiple locations on highly classified programs has historically posed significant challenges. However, for GCAP, we have viewed this as an opportunity rather than a challenge, a chance to develop innovative, secure frameworks for collaboration. GCAP has progressed at a rapid pace since its inception. After the formal announcement of the trilateral endeavor in December 2022, the treaty to establish the ZIGO was signed in December 2023, and following ratification by all three countries, JIGO was formally established in December 2024. The JIGO Convention, as we call the treaty, has created in JIGO an empowered international organization that can plan and deliver the program effectively, with decisions made quickly and at the appropriate level. All three countries are committed to ensuring that the spirit of empowerment is implemented as JIGO is stood up, while ensuring avenues exist to effectively engage home governments in a coordinated and effective manner when required. For myself personally, it is a great honor and privilege, as well as, of course, a worthy challenge, to have been appointed the first chief executive to lead this organization. Frankly speaking, I was very much thrilled when I first learned that I was a candidate to assume this position. It is an opportunity like no other to be able to lead a new diverse international organization set up to manage an international flagship program that commands high political attention across three capitals. I would like to take some time to share my personal view on the vision and objectives of JIGO, which is still very much in its infancy. Please remember, we are only at our half-year mark. With staff drawn from three different countries with differing work cultures and procurement development practices, my initial emphasis has been to promote collaboration and empowerment within the organization, and thereby act as a catalyst for greater collaboration among the national governments as well as with the industries. Open communications and trusting relationships are critical to enable successful collaboration and empowerment. I have made it my personal priority to emphasize the importance of diversity of thought, communication, and trust among JIGO staff members, particularly as our different cultures, backgrounds, and preconceptions can make us easily perceptible to misunderstanding. An international work culture is not created overnight. It will undoubtedly take some time, but I intend to lead JIGO to become a truly international, collaborative, and empowered team that, as an organization, can be much greater than the sum of its parts. I would like to make JIGO one team with a shared vision and goal in the true sense of the word. Only by leading by practice will we be able to gain true buy-in to integrated efforts across JIGO, across the 3 countries, across all involved industry actors, devoted to achieving the shared goal of the successful development of GCAP. I firmly believe that only by doing so can JIGO truly live up to its established empowered intent to pursue the guidance, direction, control, supervision, and management of GCAP on behalf of the 3 countries. An effective empowered collaboration construct is critical for the success of any joint program, and this includes the industry side as well. Utilizing our national procurement experiences and leveraging best practices, for GCAP, we are establishing a truly international joint development posture. In December 2024, BAE Systems, Leonardo, and Japan Aircraft Industrial Enhanced Company Limited, called JAIC, formally signed an agreement to form an empowered industrial joint venture, or JV. The JV aims to complete the incorporation process this year. The JV and JIGO will be co-located in Reading, UK, which will ensure maximum alignment and collaboration. GCAP contracts placed nationally between each government and industry will be integrated into an overall contract between JIGO, the trilateral governmental body, and the JV, the trilateral industrial body. The JV will then subcontract out manufacturing and final assembly to the national industrial lead companies and other suppliers. The JV will be accountable for GCAP systems design responsibility. This represents a broader scope of responsibility compared to previous aeronautical programs and introduces a new partnership model for an industrial perspective. Joint teams will work closely to develop joint IP as the most effective way to deliver the program. This approach means greater cooperation between industry teams and the flexibility to bring the best from each country into the program. With equal participation from BAE Systems, Leonardo, and JAIC, the JV will guarantee balanced involvement and equitable returns in terms of prosperity for each country. These steady accomplishments over the first few years of the program showcase our collective commitment to face 6th-generation challenges with pragmatism, dedication, and unwavering resoluteness. I know I'm the only thing standing between you and the end of the first working day, so I'll move on now to wrap up my speech. I know GCAP is essential for Italy, Japan, and the United Kingdom to maintain military relevance in future contested environments, ensuring both control of the air and strategic autonomy. Additionally, it will enable us to preserve and enhance our sovereign engineering capabilities within the aerospace defense sector, thereby strengthening our technological advantage and industrial base. It is hence more than just a defense initiative. Although the challenges we face are undoubtedly complex, the substantial opportunities presented by the program are equally compelling. Through close collaboration, steadfast commitment, and a shared vision, we will ensure that GCAP becomes a cornerstone of our collective security and industrial growth for decades to come. The responsibility to advance and secure our future lies in our hands. With unwavering dedication, we'll play a pivotal role in defining future combat air capabilities, ensuring a safer and more advanced world for future generations. I am confident that GCAP will usher in a new era marked by a new model of partnership that will promote international integration, mutual trust, and a shared commitment. Together, we are forging the future. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much to Mr. Masayuki for your priceless contribution, which gave us much food for thought for the rest of the evening. I'd also like to extend our gratitude to all of the keynote speakers, the moderators, the panelists, and to you, the audience, both here and in person and online. Your attention and active participation through the AeroSpace Power Conference app added real value to our discussion. We expect to see you again here tomorrow, ready for the start of the second day at 8:30 a.m. sharp. Thank you again for attending the first day of the AeroSpace Power Conference. Aeronautica Militare, expect to see you tomorrow.